my favorite part has actually been the amount of like support I've gotten along the ways. And it really reminds me a lot of like the mentorships I've had before, where every 2 weeks I'm getting on a call with someone. And for me, that helps a ton because I have a lot of questions typically. And I need that reassurance. So not only has it been nice to know that, people are seeing us, but that help. And now I'm working with Dave. He's been great. And we have long conversations about a lot of stuff. And I just feel like between tweaking my website, tweaking a bunch of things on the Instagram, just making it a lot easier for people to go from seeing our page or seeing an ad to seeing our page and then getting right to our virtual assistant and right to me. It's just made me feel a lot more confident and just like sleeping better at night.
You're an inspiration to our entire organization.
Welcome to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast. We're going to be talking the done-for-you marketing and sales strategies proven to work with boutique fitness gyms to increase quality lead flow and grow your revenue. Don't try to be a professional marketer and waste tons of money. Let the experts at Lasso do it for you. And now, here are your hosts, Blake Ruff and Sherman Merritt.
All right, guys, here we go. Another episode of Gym Marketing Made Simple with Blake and Sherman. And today we have Pat Commeret from CrossFit Loup. So first of all, Pat, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be on here.
Yeah, definitely, man. So let's jump right into it. Give us a little bit background on you, right? Like obviously, primarily gym owners listening to us. So, we're all from the same sort of cloth. So give us a little bit of background. How'd you get into this, this CrossFit thing and going from there?
Yeah. So I started CrossFit when I was 18. I was actually in high school and I went to school originally it was more like phys ed. Did some classes kind of like in that sphere, coaching, exercise science, that kind of stuff. And then got out of college, did a couple random jobs, but I was kind of like still doing CrossFit. And it was kind of like during a time where, CrossFit gyms were starting to kind of explode. It was actually becoming like a business and basically found myself joining a CrossFit gym in Syracuse, New York. Didn't start coaching necessarily, but I did start, I kind of offered to be the cleaner because they didn't have any coaching positions to start. And I was working in the restaurants at the side. I was bartending, serving. And as I started as the cleaner, then I went into as like the foundations guy. Then I got a few classes. And basically, I feel like there was a lot of people at that time that were starting as like owners first. And I'm kind of like maybe the first generation that's like started as a coach. And then I've kind of worked my way up until about 2 years ago, we opened CrossFit Loup and I branched out and I just, it was just kind of like a golden opportunity. There wasn't a ton of CrossFit gyms on my side of town. I had kind of reached my ceiling at my last job and I kind of was like, okay, like, for about 3 years, it's like, what's next? And I took the lunge and I opened the gym. I had at least a local following come with me. I had done a lot of personal training, remote coaching, and group classes. But I started with a mentoring company, and that really helped a ton that first year. Really set my systems in place. I knew a lot about coaching, but I knew nothing about sales. I knew nothing about marketing, and just really, really almost like insecure about it. And about a year in, I kind of was at the point where I was like really dialing in my numbers and I just felt like, I was sometimes the +3, sometimes it was break even. And it just kind of was like, I really, and I hear a lot of gym owners say this and they're like, I have a lead problem. And there's a lot of gyms that don't have a lead problem. They have like retention problems and they have all these other issues. And I was like narrowing it down and I just kept sitting down. I was like, I really feel like I have a lead problem. I'm like, I have a great location. Our churn was like 3%. I mean, we were losing a couple people here and there, but it wasn't like, in groves or anything like that. And I felt like Our product was good. The facility's clean. We started hiring some great coaches. I had gotten my L3, and it was like on the backside, I'm like, I really feel like we're doing all the right things. I just don't think anyone knows where we are. Like, no one knows about us. So, and then it was kind of, I got on a call with someone that was actually in my mentorship that worked with you guys. And it was actually her first month with you guys. And she was out in California. And she was kind of like, I'm not really sure, I'll keep you updated. And I was like, yeah, let me know. I was like, and I got on a call with you guys, and I was like, well, I think at first, I think I need some help with sales. So I got on with a call with one of your salespeople that used to be at Lasso, and that helped a ton. And I went from like a 20% conversion all the way up to like 60 to 70%, like within like 4 months. I was like, all right, this is working. I still don't have enough leads, but at least I'm like closing more people. 5 months later, I got on a call with her again, and she was just really happy with everything. We had a long conversation, and she had done the mentorship I did. We kind of had a really similar situation. And in my side of town, it was, fairly competitive. I have an Orange Theory, like right by us. So, it's a good side of town to be on, but it's definitely competitive. There's a lot of gyms on my side of town. And so I was like, you know what? I'll sign a contract. We're like 3-4 months ahead on bills and stuff like that. So I was like, we can light the money on fire, as some people would say, and we can try this. And I was super nervous, really nervous. And as you guys probably know, when you guys met me, I tend to overthink everything. I think Blake, you called me a perfectionist, and I was like, yeah, I was like navigate everything correctly. And I was like, all right, I just got to like stop overthinking this. And I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. And even being with you guys now, I would have to say beyond the paid marketing, my favorite part has actually been the amount of like support I've gotten along the ways. And it really reminds me a lot of the mentorships I've had before, where every 2 weeks I'm getting on a call with someone. And for me, that helps a ton because I have a lot of questions typically. And I need that reassurance. So not only has it been nice to know that, people are seeing us, but that help. And now I'm working with Dave. He's been great. And we have long conversations about a lot of stuff. And I just feel like between tweaking my website, tweaking a bunch of things on the Instagram, just making it a lot easier for people to go from seeing our page or seeing an ad to seeing our page and then getting right to our virtual assistant and right to me. It's just made me feel a lot more confident and just like sleeping better at night, to be honest.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think you were, I remember when we talked to you, like, you're right. You did have a lot of questions, but me personally, I didn't mind that, but I remember telling Blake, like, this guy is sort of like the perfect client because he's done mentoring for a year. Like, he has systems and stuff in place. He's just missing the lead and the sales thing. But for us, like, we get it, right? Like, our price point, people are going to be nervous. That's why, you get on the call with us. Like, we didn't do the whole hard sell. No, if you don't do it, you're not. We're just like, hey, when the time is right, come back, talk to people. And then now, it's been a great thing. So we are, we're starting to notice that we are a marketing company. But just with everyone on our team being gym owners, having all this experience, we definitely help gym owners a lot with sort of the mentoring side of it, right? So like we tell everyone, hey, our best clients are someone that has done some mentoring with someone else for a year or so, and they have their systems in place. But there's only so many bring a friend days and L3s and L2s you can have on staff that's really going to grow the business. Because like you said earlier, you had your L3, and that's fine. That's great. You can really coach a class, but people aren't finding you because you have an L3, and eventually the whole, bring a friend day thing gets old and you start seeing the same people over and over. And so I think that's one of the cool things that we've seen sort of your growth of, giving you more leads, giving you more opportunities. And now the business is starting to really take off and stuff like that. So, man, that's exciting. So tell me this. No, Blake, you go ahead. I think you've been asked a question.
Yeah, so I remember on our conversation beforehand, you were talking about how, like, you listen to Alex Hormozi. He's like, if you basically are starting, you need to work like 7 days a week and like put the effort in. I think one thing that's different about you is like, you didn't go into this being like, hey, you guys are going to change my business like all on your own. I have to sit back and do nothing. You had really the mindset is like, okay, you're going to get me the leads, but I still have to like do the work. Right. And I think that's one reason you've been really successful is like, hey, I'm not going to count on anybody else to grow my business. I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah, for sure.
If you can talk a little about that, like what kind of mindset like you had going into it, and then just how that's like really benefited you.
And I think some other people have talked about it on your shows too. I mean, it's a tool in the tool belt, right? Having paid ads. You guys can't come into my office with these people and make the sale happen and make these people feel comfortable. There's a lot on my end I have to do. And with that being said, the mindset, it's kind of, it's been like a process. And I would say like in terms of the sales process, when I first opened, I think I had a lot more experience beginning to actually work with like some intermediate towards higher level, like competitive CrossFit people. Mm-hmm. And so when I opened the business, it was kind of a culture shock for me where I was like selling them gym membership. I would work with general population people, but it was like, I can really help you. Like I think when you called me a perfectionist, I was like, I'll bring you through a movement screen. And then within, 12 months, I'm always kind of thinking long-term. So, when I began the sales process, it was kind of like, it was actually pretty hard. Just like the sheer amount of like, denial and the rejection, and you kind of get used to that. And I think before I start with you, I was like beginning to kind of like callous towards that. If someone would have a no-show or things like that, and you just begin to kind of realize like, hey, it's a little bit of a numbers game. You're not doing terrible in the percentage. And like you guys talk about, and I'm just a numbers person. I mean, if I'm at 20%, I want to go to 40%, it's just kind of like what I'm always thinking about. But once I jumped on that sales call with your former sales representative, I was like, okay, I took all those tools and I was like, I'm just going to implement them. I get a sheet of paper out when I sit down in the console, and I'm like, I just navigate. And it's just like practice and practice. And just like doing CrossFit, right? I mean, the first time you do a snatch, it's foreign. And I usually reference it when I do foundations with people to like a golf swing. I'm like, you're not going to go like Happy Gilmore this, right? And it's, you're not going to improve your snatches coming up and like, overcoming it with volition. It's going to take a lot of practice, and we need a couple 1,000 reps. And like, I'm trying to make that a lot more clear to people that come in that this is long-term. And I just know that my mindset is always kind of like, I'm just trying to think long-term. And, I know that like I'm getting better with the sales, and I know that like more times that people see, whether it's a paid ad or organic, it's just like, I got to keep pegging them until they make maybe that decision. And then in 6 months, I'm going to be even better at sales. And then hopefully maybe have a salesperson at that point. I can train them. And it's just like, so in terms of the mindset, it's just, being patient, and it's just like not easy when you first start. And there's just certain things you just don't know as a gym owner until you're like in the trenches. And being like 2 years in now, my anxiety's down, but I do have a few gray hairs, and it's like the way it's gone. So
that's good. Yeah, no, you touched on a couple key things there. For me, really loving the sales side of it is, like hearing that word no, and I think that's one of the big things that I try to help people with, is getting comfortable with hearing the word no in the sales process. That's the reason for me, I really teach people to, always try to sell their highest level package up front, not because it's the highest level package, but because that's the absolute best one. And of course, we understand 90% of people are going to tell you no, but at least you get that out of the way first, early, often. You get used to hearing the word no. Now you can really get down to business and focus on helping the people that aren't going to pay you, $1,200, $1,500 a month. That's okay. But if you're so afraid of hearing the word no, it's just going to hinder you, because there are people, I've done consults where people have told me no a few times, and then I just continue to dig, continue to try to figure out their problem. The next thing you know, they're signing up before they leave, even though they've told me no 2 or 3 other times. Again, these people, they're not, a lot of these people aren't super dedicated, not totally down into their goals. So they need someone to help them get to where they need to be. And again, like I like to say, this isn't like you're selling them a used car that's a lemon. When they drive it off the lot, it's going to break down and then you're going to sit back and laugh. If they do what we tell them consistently, month over month, they are going to have a great product, which is going to be themselves, their health, and it's going to last long term. That's why I always tell people, hey, push a little bit more than you think, because if you get this person to sign up, it is absolutely going to change their life.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%. And just to kind of tail off of that, I mean, I've just changed totally how, in terms of frequency when people come in, it used to be like, if you were like 2 to 3 times a week, you could see some change. And now I'm like 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Why aren't you here 5 days a week? Right.
Yeah.
We can always dial it back, but like, let's start at 5, right?
Yeah.
Start at 5, because not only do I know that you're going to get better results, maybe you refer your friend, maybe, you immerse yourself into the community quicker, and then retention, like you'll be here longer. Like just be here. It should be like brushing your teeth, right? Just be here. And I start there now, and it's like definitely helping, but frequency is huge.
No. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. If you can get them in consistently and often, that's one of the things we talk about, when we sort of set people up. One of the things we've had success with is having sort of like a 12-week offer. And we're big on telling folks, hey, you need to make sure during that first 12 weeks, these people are attending at least 36 classes, at least. Because we know if we get them 36, 40, 45, 50 classes during that first 12 week, they are going to stick around long term. But if someone signs up for 3 months and they come 20 times, they just haven't gotten enough reps in. They haven't gotten enough results to say, like this is worth it. Because again, let's be honest, most people that come to us, they're not used to paying $200+ a month for fitness. So it has to be a awesome product, awesome experience for them to stick around long term. Because if not, it's going to be like, oh, it was good, but I don't know if it's worth $250 per month. Well, yes, because you only came 20 times. You only came, 7 times a month. Of course, it's not worth it. But like you're saying, if you push them and get them in there, 20, 25 times a month over 3 months, now they've come 50 to 75 times. They're going to be like, this is a no brainer, right? Like, how can I stop doing this? So yeah, I like that you said, that repetition, that consistency of getting them in the gym is a total game changer. And I think that's one of the things when, because long gone are the days of, like you were saying, you got started when it was, when it was good and CrossFit gyms popping up and the people were just flocking in our gyms in droves. Like those days are gone now for various reasons. But I remember when I first started my gym, like it was a sort of a novelty thing and people were like, oh, this CrossFit, let me just go check it out. I don't know what it is. Now everyone pretty much knows or has an idea of what it is. Now we're competing with, like you said, you have Orange Theory right down the road, right? And we know that Orange Theory is spending a couple $1,000s a month on paid marketing. So if you're not trying to get in front of the people just as much as your competitors in these cities, they're just going to drown you out over time. And that's that's really that's the reality of it as gym owners for us now, for sure. So
yeah, you're totally right though. With it almost seemed like post-COVID, it was just like almost like a level playing field. Because like if you didn't have a sales process, like you didn't need a sales process. You didn't really need a marketing strategy prior to that. Like I didn't even think those things, I didn't even know those things existed. I mean, I was coaching at my former gym for 9 years. And when I opened my gym, I was like, holy cow, like this is like, I thought it was just, this and that, they're just going to come, like you said, in groves, but it was just a different time. And like now it's just the landscape's changing. If you're not changing, I can't even imagine, how you're going to keep up.
No, sort of a funny story, sort of you talking about like, oh, I didn't know there was a sales process when I was coaching and all that. So when I first started my gym, there was no real sales process. It was come in, sort of see this little gym that's different than anything you've ever seen. I'm going to put you through this little baseline workout. That's the one we used to do, the 500-meter row, 40 air squats. Put them through that. Hopefully they don't die. And then they like it enough to say, man, that was different. I'm coming back. That was sort of the sales process, right? Like, okay, did you survive one? You did? Did you like it? Yes. Perfect. Sign them up. Now it's just so different. It's just so different now. So I like that you said that, because I think there are a lot of people still doing the same things they were doing back in 2014. And that just.
And getting away from the free trial classes, I think that was something the three of us talked about on our very first call. And you guys were asking me what I was doing. I was like, I'm still doing the free trial, like free trial Fridays, but I'm really pushing to make a transition to consults. And I think it's definitely doing a lot more deeper, we have a deeper conversation when we sit down, and I feel like I'm getting a lot more connection with the people, and I'm getting better buy-in, and it's just like asking the right questions. But that transition's been, getting away from the free trials, and it's hard because there are, just a lot of people that come in with the expectation to get a free trial class, and that's okay. I still have had a few people like that, but it's like, if I can get them in the consult, they get to know me. If you have a fairly good personality and you're okay with people, like, I think it's going to make their onboarding a little bit better. They're going to just feel more comfortable to ask you tough questions and things like that. So it's definitely been better.
How's that alluded to higher PT cells?
A lot of it with the PT. So I'm the only personal trainer on still, my affiliate, and I have about 16 clients. So it's not like I can't bring a ton on right now. And I've brought, actually, with the paid ad, since I've started, 2 really good quality clients, actually, and which has been great. But I feel like it really comes down to when it's either, the virtual assistant or myself is asking initially, like, are you looking for one-on-one or group? And, a lot of people say group right now. So I would say, I haven't had as many say one-on-one. So kind of whatever direction they want to start there. But if they're not sure, I'll start with that, kind of like what you said, Sherman. I'll start with that like high-end package, and I'll just work my way down. And a lot more times than not, by the time we get to group class and we look at what their goals are, the group class fits by the time we get to the end, and they feel really comfortable. And they also feel really comfortable with the price point, because it doesn't seem so steep if you start with, the higher end package. So it just kind of like, it really smooths out by the end. It doesn't feel like I'm trying to sell them. It's just like, this is kind of what it is. And that just takes a lot of reps to get more comfortable with. It's really not easy when you first start. You're just like, I don't know, especially when I was 9 years in on coaching, and I'm just so like into coaching, and programming and that kind of thing. And just the sales piece was very uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable to start, but you just gotta keep doing it. Know that you're gonna swing and miss. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah, no. So I think that, one of the things that you mentioned earlier, I'm trying to think, what was it that grabbed my attention? Oh, the free trial thing, right? So the free trial. Here's the thing, like, I'm going to give everyone listening a little bit of free game here. The free trials, if you've been doing it for a while, people in your area sort of just know, like, okay, that gym does a free trial, I can do it. But the way that I was able to pivot away from that, I make it all about them, right? So for instance, if you came to me, Pat, and you're like, hey, like, I really want to try this. I heard about it. Can I do a free class? I'm going to say, hey, Pat, we don't do free classes. We don't do a free trial, but here's why. Pat, like, when you come into class, I want to make sure you have a phenomenal experience. And Pat, if you come in day one and we're doing movements that you don't know how to do, like, you're not going to like that experience. Like, for instance, Pat, like, what if we're doing sumo deadlift high pulls? Like, have you ever heard of that? Most people are going to be like, no, I've never heard of that. Okay, what about hang power snatches? No, I've never heard of that. So here's the thing, Pat, the reason we don't do free trials is, like, I want to make sure that you have a phenomenal experience. So the free trials are really for your safety and to ensure that you have a great experience. But I can assure you that you're going to like it. Look, I got 150, 200 people here that love this. You will love it too. But that's the reason we don't do free trials. And that's the way that started to get away from it. And I would say, because I used to do free trials as well, it took me about 6 months of saying that over and over to people that were sort of coming in off a tail end of that. But once you get away from it, like no one even asks anymore, unless it's someone's moving from another city. They've been doing it for a while. They just want to try it. Okay, that's different. But I'm talking about people brand new to fitness. I just told them why we didn't do it, yell out a couple movements I know they don't know. They're going to say, oh, okay, I get it. And then you just move, you just move away from it from there.
Yeah.
Blake, were you going to say something?
Yeah. So one thing you said in the beginning, right? Like I think a lot of gym owners get on here or they think like, do I need more leads or do I just need to improve my systems? And sometimes it's both, right? And I think you were kind of like, hey, I have most of my systems. And then you realize like, hey, maybe some of your systems weren't as perfect as you get more leads too. So, but my question being, what made you like look at what numbers did you look at and you're like, okay, I've kind of got to the point where I can on my own. Now I definitely need something to increase the funnel.
Just a lot of months of like +1. It just wasn't like, it would be like 2 people moved, like nothing you can do. Right. And if I only have 5 leads and I closed 4, I'm doing all right in the sales. And it's just like, I'm following back up with these 5 and I, do what I need to do. And they had done a free trial or whatever and a consult and this and that. And you're like doing all the pieces. You're recording it. You're like every, this day, that day, I'm following up with them. And then they respond back and they're like, man, I reached out to 5 gyms and you were lightning fast. And I'm like, great. Like, so you're like, okay, like, I'm just like, where's everyone? Right. And that's kind of what it was. It was like enough Monday mornings where I woke up and I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
like, am I going to have flyers? Am I going to like if you're getting responses from people that aren't a member yet that are literally like, hey, like I reached out to 5 places. I mean, this was like lightning. And I'm sitting here like they got a hold of me at 11 o'clock last night. And unfortunately I was sleeping. But as soon as I got on my computer, right when I woke up, I got right back to you. Right. And it's just like, you're just trying. And now what's cool is, I have the virtual assistant that you guys have helped me with. And I feel even more confident with that now. And I just feel like I'm at least like, getting them a response within 5 minutes at any point, and it's like really nice to have that. And I'm like, it's just a little easier for me to check in on that. And then just like and that was like a little bit of a learning curve too when I first started with that. But now it's like definitely getting into a flow. And I'm like, okay, at least I know like they gave them a response. If I need 10 minutes before I get back to my phone, I got that time. So yeah, so in terms of when I figured out when I needed that, it was just a lot of like +1 months, net 1, right? Lose 3, gain 4. And it was like the 3 that left, they moved. Like there's literally nothing I could do, right? It's like, please don't move. But I have to go across the country. It's like, hey, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So, yeah.
And I think that's a misconception, right? Like it's like your case, right? Like sometimes you just can't beat your churn. Like and your churn's good, right? Like you're just like, I have good systems. I know. And I remember you saying like, I know I have a great class. Like I just need more people. And now if you're losing like 10 people, that's a different story, right? But like I always say like our best clients are ones that are like, hey, I'm doing well, but I'm like break even every single month. And so it's going crazy. But you're breaking even every single month. And then it's like, I just need more gas to put on the fire. And I think that was like the case for you. Cause like you said that like, hey, I think I remember you saying like, yeah, we had like December and January, like harder months, but we still outbeat our churn. Whereas like, if you look back before you started, it's like, if you would have stayed consistent with your lead flow, the opportunity cost is massive that you would have lost a lot more. And you're like, man, now I have these leads. I at least can, and then you can track those and be like, okay, we always know December is a hard month, right? And maybe whatever, if there's a lot of transient people moving in a certain month, if you're in a military town or something like that. But if you know that, then you're like, okay, I can pour a little more gas on the fire this month, or just the safety of like, I'm going to wake up and know that there's people I can talk to.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, on my side of town, it does feel kind of competitive. And I don't know that for a fact because, I would kind of be curious. But just the fact that we have something like an Orange Theory bias, like makes me believe that, between the median income and everything else, like just competitive. We're off a highway. It's a good spot. Like, and I look at that, I'm like, got great parking. We have 24/7 access, good class schedule. I'm like, you look at everything and you're just like, okay, like, how do people get to know us? Like, how do you reach out? Like, at least they get to see you, right? I mean, the bare minimum, just like, at least take a look at my page. Like, look at an ad. Finally, you got to look at our page. Oh, you saw our story, and you see your story, view count go up a little bit. And, there's definitely a lot more work that we could be doing with the organic, but I don't think it's not trending in the wrong direction. And it's just one of those things with organic where you could spend a lot of time on it and just have no ROI on it, no return on investment. I mean, just like turning your wheels. And I know a lot of people that do that. And I'm just like, I feel like our frequency fits within what we're also like tolerant to. And it looks good. I look at it, I'm like, I think it's cool. Like, if I was looking for a CrossFit gym, I'd be like, that's a pretty cool place, good community, fit people. I'd like to look like that. Like, however I have to think of it. But at the same time, it's like, that won't get to those other audiences. It just won't. Like, and it didn't. Right. And so, definitely just being patient and, letting the paid ads kind of do its thing. And I know, this is a conversation I had with Dave not even that long ago. And he's like, we set some timelines, and it was helpful because I was like, all right, we had a revenue goal, and then it was like, okay. And then when do we want to set it? And I basically set it for like early winter next year. Like, this was like during the winter this year. And I was like, I mean, to me, and anything I read, whether it's Alex Hormozy or whatever I'm listening to, whether it's your show, I'm like, probably need to give it 10 to 14 months. Like, it's just going to have to take some time. And not to mention, like, our February here, I don't know, the weather was absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like, it sucked. Like, we got crushed with snow this year. So that's not going to help. So stuff you can't control.
No, for sure. And I used to say that only your followers are going to see your stuff. And like, the algorithms change, and that's not even true anymore. Like, I mean, they're the only people, but like, unless you produce something really high quality, no one sees it anymore, because the algorithm is like, and you probably notice that people that are listening, if you're on Instagram and things like that, you're seeing a lot of people that you don't even follow anymore. So it's all about quality and people saving and sharing your stuff and getting people to the platform. So if you're not producing very high quality stuff, people aren't consuming it. So it's like even harder organic now. So I think that's one thing that, like you said, like, man, if I saw this, it'd be great, right? Like, I would click here, but unless it's like super that like people are like, wow, this was so amazing, like it was informative, like all that stuff, like even long form videos, like it used to be 10 to 30 seconds, like Instagram. Now it's like minute clips are doing better. So just knowing that, like, you have to, it's so much noise on social media that you have to be so good at it to really make a difference.
Yeah. And I have, some experience. My last job I worked at, we did like a really big, like, educational series, and we call it Pat's Power Tips. They're really actually pretty funny, but it was like every week we would, do some sort of like efficiency tip on the snatch or efficiency tip on the row or whatever. And we had stayed consistent with that, I would say, for at least like 6 months. It just wasn't getting like what we wanted. Like, it was good information and whatnot, but you're right. Like, it's just like kind of feels like a moving target. And you're just like I said, you could just turn your wheels forever trying to figure that out. And I at least know with our paid ads, it's like people are seeing it, like, I mean, they see it, right? So at the bare minimum, there's that. And then, obviously just continuing to, on the inside, continuing to make the staff better, running our evaluations, trying to level people's, credentials up and things like that. Like, those are just the normal things you got to do. But yeah, it's tricky, and I almost like want to ask you more questions, of course, because that's what I do, about like, why is it that it's now a minute, because I'm like, that's interesting. Cause like we were, maybe 6 months ago, it was like, okay, like 15 seconds or less, a reel. just make them like really cool action shots for 15 seconds, and then boom, it's done.
Yeah, and that's just simply because people, when you watch things longer, you're gathering more information, so it's more informative. Like, like we're doing those 1 minute things now for sending out every day, but it's enough to gather somebody's info that you're consuming good content. But even if you produced a 5-minute Instagram clip that was just totally worth it, like that would do really well. But it has to, 15 seconds is just so fast that it's not enough for somebody to be like, oh my gosh, like I gathered, imagine demonstrating a snatch, for example, and you're like, all right, push through the floor, keep your chest upright. Okay, those are 2 good cues. That took 15 seconds, right? But if you went through and diagnosed the whole thing, and somebody was like, wow, I really watched that at Consume, and I'm going to save it, then Instagram sends or share it to a friend that they can go watch that. Then Instagram saying you're bringing people to the platform. You really enjoyed this. Now we're going to share it with people outside your followers. Whereas before it was 15 seconds is just not enough. And like you said, it was just so quick moving. But, we know that people have the attention span less than a goldfish. So if you're able to can go past that 6-9 seconds and go to a minute, the algorithm saying, wow, this is really important to somebody. This is informative. People like this. And I'm seeing all the time on Instagram, we're getting so many people, you're seeing so many people that you don't even follow just because if for example, you're looking at all the marketing stuff, you're just going to see a ton of marketing stuff. The people you don't follow, you're going to see Grant Cardone, all those people, right? Come up into your feed just simply because the algorithm is understanding you like this. So you must like X, Y, Z.
Yeah. Now, what is your take on a YouTube long-term format?
YouTube is just very educational. So you wanted to make sure it has to be for the right market, right? So say you were doing marketing, right? And really teaching somebody long-term. I think YouTube might be for, if you're really into programming, and we know people that do their own programming, doing long-form YouTube. It's really, I think, educational purposes more than anything else. But yeah, I think but Instagram is getting to the point where I actually get a ton of education off there too. So.
Got it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I think it's been a great episode. I think we're gonna get ready to wrap it up. Pat, tell if someone wants to get in contact with you, talk with you. You have some great experience now. If someone wants to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
You're definitely gonna hold me on my Instagram. My Instagram's Pat Commeret. We also have our Instagram for our gym, CrossFit Loup. Easily send us a DM if anyone has any questions about whether it's the paid ads or they need to jump on a call. And I'm grateful for people that have done that for me. So if anyone needed help and they're just kind of have some questions about this or that or some struggles they've had, I definitely have a little bit of experience now. Definitely don't know it all, but yeah.
Perfect. Well, guys, as always, tell a friend to tune in, and we will chat with you guys next week. All right.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast with Blake Ruff and Sherman Merricks. We hope you enjoyed. We believe marketing should increase revenue and not waste money. So book your free call today. Head on over to lassoframework.com. That's lassoframework.com and find the right words, get more customers, and increase your revenue. We'll see you here next time.